Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back. We had a nice little 3-week hiatus, but we're really happy to be back. Awesome crowd tonight. Really happy to see you all here for the one and only Loie Merritt. Let's give it up. But first, Drew Searchinger will come up and she's going to read for us and then introduce. Woo! Woo! Give a round of applause. Please silence your cell phone so we can enjoy this reading.
Hi. There's a lot of people here. Be gentle. Okay. Yeah, this first one is called Free Boxes. It's for my brother. I went to church the other day. Roll your eyes, fine, but I liked some of what they had to say. Pay attention to your body. If you don't feel good, you're out of alignment with God. It feels good to be with God. Someone's confused, either God or the preacher, for it feels good to be with sunshine until red blisters burrow under skin, good to return home until the right questions surface. How are you doing with your prescription pill usage? You shift, sigh, begin sharpening knives you might throw in defense, and I'm sorry to turn our conversation into pin the tail on the addict, but I cannot lose another brother. Recall years at the dinner table facing south across from the window, rendered mere by the night, your reflection delights in a newfound esteem. You stroke arriving facial hairs, raise eyebrows, purse lips, pay attention to your body. There is no window across from you now, only our pupils, within which you are absorbed and reflected alike. You say, I really don't want to talk about this with you guys. You say we do not understand. If you don't feel good, you're out of alignment with God. We made our parents pick both of their children up from jail. Those separate occasions, the same timer was set. In the days we helped each other navigate fire, end of summer, see you later at the pool where we're both funded almost entirely by quinceañeras and Friday night barbecues. It feels good to be with God. Come help me stack these lawn chairs, brother. Help me pull the lane lines in. You are cracking. It is no longer safe to swim under. I know it's bad for me, but I'm not proud of it. But those waters are choppy. It is time we drain the pool, concede that we are closing, and let the seasons change. The dog is blind now, deaf too. And can't you hear Mom calling? There is no one who will ever love you more than the people in this room. She speaks from her womb, brother. Free boxes have been good to us, far better than we've been to them. Okay, next one's called, this one's called The Good Witch. I'll leave time for that next poem. Okay. Whispers from the inner ear out, a bit of advice from our friendly abyss. Your tent might do well pitched among the stars. It's for the comfort. But I know nothing of driving stakes through empty space. I'm just a Sherpa for my own sack of flesh and bones and the mostly liquid other that makes it all gel. Said breathy declaration did draw me out of sleep. Tent came crashing down, so back in my bed I did land and awaken to fleeting hospitality like a boarding house that locks doors during daylight. Careful not to trip over the power cord plugged into your circadian clock. I was once asked to draw pictures of empty jars, but don't draw the jars were the only instructions, so I sat down and waited until evaporation left slight rings of color at the base, and dark red turned purple, turned black, that charred away like surface burns. Astounding how easy it was to simply dry up and wait to be tucked in again. Okay. And the last one I have for y'all is about a goldfish I rescued from my ex-boyfriend's fraternity. Yeah. It's called Rescue Mission of the Divine. Born of Snapchat, of terrible humor, of red solo cup, misnamed Mario, misnamed Bob, frat boys really aren't that creative. Honey came home in a Ziploc bag and I had gallons and gallons to give you. Moved to mason jar, moved to blue bucket, moved to mason jar, moved to fish tank, and I'll never forget how it felt to open my eyes next to your open eyes and celebrate how much you survived my tequila. You're a testament to resilience. Baby knows how to overcome the 5, 6, 10 times I poured you back and forth, unsure of your needs because Google can't tell me what's going through your head. And Google can't tell me why they thought it'd be fun to stick you in a liquor bottle on the sidewalk and leave. But it can tell me you're swimming sideways because your swim bladder is infected. It can tell me to change your water, well, just 30% of it, to let you fast for 2 days and feed you a single pea on the 3rd for the fiber. A single plea to your translucent body, baby, please don't stop swimming. I care so damn much, but it's okay. It's okay if that's too much to ask, my tequila. Okay. So much gratitude and joy that I get to introduce Loie Merritt tonight. She was my first workshop instructor, so I knew her as Anna then, and the names thing has been quite a trip. But I can't imagine a better first workshop experience or workshop experience in general, really, because Loie facilitated some of the most high-quality discussions and workshops that I've ever experienced, but also created this cohesion among the students that I haven't felt matched in any other classroom environment, which is really remarkable and is such a testament to your just brilliant qualities as a human being. I remember one day we were talking about character development, and Loie just launched into this most excellent and elaborate psychological map of a character completely on a whim. It was just a total random thought process, and there was a holy shit moment in the class. Maybe we're sitting in the presence of someone really brilliant. And we totally were, and I'm so grateful to have gotten to experience your instruction, and we're all so lucky to have Loie as a part of this creative community. So without further ado, come on up.
Thank you, Drew. That was lovely poetry. I taught Drew or instructed Drew in prose, but I feel like half of our class was spent talking about poetry too, which I love, and I'm so happy that they were on board with me to do that. So, well done. Thank you. I'm honored. Thank you to Innisfree and to Brian. Thank you to Rushi for putting on this awesome event. I'll move right into a couple pieces, the first of which is from my thesis. I defend my thesis tomorrow morning, first thing. I'm not nervous about right now, I'm freaking out about tomorrow morning. So bear with me if I lose my eyesight, it's because of that, not now. You guys are great. So I'll read a couple sections briefly from that, and then something else, something totally different. So we'll get started. The only thing I'll say about my thesis, so I started writing this thing that became a novel, and holy shit, that I never thought I was gonna write a novel, ever, even though I'm in this program. And so this tiny little story became a 150-page thing about the character M. And this is from the first section of the book. I'll just get started. A Bone's Edge. One event sticks to M's throat when he thinks of his father in the time between his mother's death and his own departure. The father had expanded in the space they shared, inviting M closer to the stove, watching his pale face a little more closely, sharing the wash bin after dinner, trusting M to rinse out the bait barrels. It is dusk in August. M is sloshing the thick, bloody water around the bottom of the last barrel when he hears dogs fighting not too far away. M has grown fast, now near his father's height. The scent of salty death lingers on his skin at age 16, hormones and oil. The splintering fish bones get stuck in his calluses now, but he doesn't feel it. These new similarities keep his father from chasing him into the surf. He has begun to notice that people look at him longer, perhaps unsure of who he is, father or son. When the sudden noises crack off the shed walls, M drops his hose and takes 4 heavy strides out the wide door. He doesn't stop to turn the water off at the spigot. He walks briskly toward the barking. He hears loud slobbering and perhaps the low echo of bleeding. He had a dog once, which refused to eat after his mother left and finally chewed through its rope the first new moon following her absence. Its shit had long rotted, making dead grass. Overgrown branches reach into the path and stick to M's thin shirt as he strides towards the road, little pulls in the knit, not slowing him down, just popping off and quivering in response to his curious speed. He doesn't feel prepared to assist in whatever situation he may come upon, but needs the information, needs to pack up the image, store it away for a winter memory. He wants to be present for everything, just to watch and wait for a collapse or for a well to spring. The path seems particularly long, stretching before him on its own horizon. His steps are silent, but the barking ahead of him grows in desperation. At the lip of the road, 2 dogs are circling an old man, slicing the air raw with their noise. He seems caught, standing but paralyzed, as the dogs dance around him, white spit flying as if from a split artery. It's Sam, another fisherman, long gone blind with age and the sun bouncing off ocean. Sam has in no way to move and M doesn't move either, not forward to help or back towards the house. M stares with a tensed jaw. His father pauses to the right for a single breath, must have heard the same noises and taken the path leading up from the water. His father's hands are soaked in black engine oil, and his sweaty eyebrows bush out like caterpillars beaded with morning dew. These dogs want each other's throats. M recognizes one as his own, but the bastard has changed. Ribs exposed, patches of black fur pulled from dead spots, teeth brown with blood. The animal has bitten his own tongue and quenches his thirst with it. The whites of its drooping eyes are red now, swollen and watery. The other dog seems to stand erect, and M notices its gray penis exposed from a sheath of thick fur. They would have already torn at each other if not for the man caught in the crossfire, walking home perhaps from the bar or the post office. M stands with his feet wide apart and has stopped breathing. His father does not hesitate a second longer, lunging forward with the balls of his flat feet and throwing his arms out as if approaching the man, not the dogs, for a hug. M had never seen his father hug anyone. His hands shaped like claws, he turns with a strange stiffness and throws a shoulder into Sam's gut. Sam's lungs empty, heaving a choked sound into the space between the 5 of them. The dogs swallow the air without pause and use the shifting bodies to launch into each other, a slap and crack of bone. Sam is tossed into the ditch on the east side of the road. M's ear catches a ripping sound that must be fabric, Sam's old pants against the dry gravel, which is rougher along the edge of the road. The dogs can't resist the surge of their bodies slamming into each other. M's father expands again to collar their necks with both hands spread wide and tense at the wrist. He slips on the dirt and falls to his knees, where the position is easier to wrestle the dogs down, but his chest is now eye level, splattered with blood from the ripped mouths of the animals and black oil from his own greased up hands. The fluids from muscle and machine splash in parallel arcs through the frozen air and blend in the dust of the fight. M simply stands there, the machine within him not quite able to act. He waits with a spectator's expectation that this will end quickly enough. M's father makes a sound he has never made before in the presence of his son, a rattle of the throat. It echoes to the water, a loud, rusty fire siren, awake at first, then resigned as it fades back into his chest. It is the sound of pain before pain starts. He is lying on the ground now, tangled in legs and fur. The jaw of the dog that M used to feed is clamped tight on his father's armpit, a shepherd's mouth wide enough to reach around the left shoulder, gripping both tendon and bone. The dog pulls back to defend himself against the taller dog that is oblivious to his father's body. M takes one step closer to confirm his suspicion that the hair on the back of his father's neck is raised. His shoulder blades protrude and his spine is bent, exposed as if about to extract itself from his skin and slit the throats of each animal in turn. The ease with which the dog's teeth rip the meat of his father's muscles strikes M as oddly comforting. Its eyes crisscross toward the wound and dilate as if aware of the mistaken target but unable to correct it. This makes M smile at the corners of his mouth before he has a chance to realize the crookedness of this response. Sam appears to be sitting up in the blurry background, staring through the fight, straight into M. Still, M is the only witness. Sam is unable to see his immobility, unable to judge the insensitive upturn of his damp lips. Until this moment, it's impossible that M could imagine his father was anything other than metal, made of fishing hooks and impossibly tight knots. M gets away with his stillness. The spectacle does not last long now. Sam begins pelting rocks the size of ball bearings at the noise ahead of him, missing only narrowly. M's father raises a sweaty arm, drops his fist bigger than a softball to the dog's temple. The dog's jaw rattles audibly, and remnants of his father's body slides off his bloody tongue. The dog cries out, a sound that is shaped like his mother. It jumps over the fallen father, jetting into the trees. The other dog rears back to follow, but hears an approaching truck down the way. Its legs carry it into the ditch not far from Sam, and just then, Sam cocks his throwing arm back, turns to his left, and launches a final bullet at the rustle of leaves. This time he strikes, a direct hit, exploding the dog's naked eye, forcing the animal back into the woods behind the schoolhouse, all this in a kind of strange and remarkable quiet. The night before M's father dies, M serves him broth boiled from the bones of a chicken, melted into a can, which he slices his thumb on, opening it with a rusty blade. He has never watched his father eat. One of them sweats in his mother's greasy bed sheets. The other one sits on the edge of the bed, holding up a quivering tray of the steaming bowl, a glass of water, a halved paper napkin, folded in a rectangle and damp with the drips of father's ragged beard. It is now that M realizes his mother's scarred leather suitcase is gone. Most of her dresses, long drapes of scratchy stitches, gone. Her dresses were made of a million pine needles sewn together tightly. Only the light scent of mothballs fills her vacant closet. The chest of drawers is at a crooked angle and looks as if it was charred by fire. On the night M's father dies, he eats 4 spoonfuls of broiling broth and doesn't feel the burns on his tongue. His reddening eyes close, his eyelashes paint the pillowcase with yellow infection. The bandage is soaked through. Traces of the black oil remain, his skin singed with the goo at its ripped edges. M lays down on his stomach, close beside the body. His father slides a heavy right palm to the base of his son's shirtless spine. For the first time, the father touches the son skin to skin. He rests with the pressure of this touch on his hollow vertebra. They both sleep shallow. Just before sunrise, M wakes up to the sound of seawater boiling over a loose flame. His father's eyes are open, staring into M's open mouth. That's it. It's so cool to hear that out loud. I haven't read it out loud except to myself, so I hope it made sense. Don't tell me if it didn't. At least not till after I defend. So this next story, I was going to read more thesis, but then I have to write a story for a workshop that's due tomorrow. And for those of you that are students, for those of you that are grad students, you know that can be a sort of a stressful thing and an exciting thing. This is my last story of graduate school. Yeah. And I'm not a sentimental person, but I caught myself last night sort of getting sort of sentimental. And, sort of languishing in this story and reading it out loud, and I'm going to submit it, and I don't know, what do you think? Is it lovely? And I have these 2 twin babies that are sitting on the table like, I don't give a fuck, feed me, So that's where my head's at. And I thought, what better thing to read at this wonderful reading that you guys have thrown, all of us third years. So we'll get into it. It's called Sablier Sablier, which is hourglass in French. An anecdote. 12:11 a.m. We lost power just as my body was turning to stone and sank into the quicksand of Sunday sleep. The whole house, the street, from here to Broadway there was no light, no heat, only a failing sense of time. The missing spark of the water heater, the death of my humidifier, the elephantine footsteps of a spider crawling up the wall, these things pulled me from a chaotic yet lazy dreamscape. The electricity came back 3 hours later. 3:02. And here I begin to teach you how to read this. I am the author, awake, made of fragile flesh again, trying to write a fiction that means something. Already this is failing. To wit, I was not intending to use semicolons. Semicolons are like hidden street signs where you really just need to know how to stop. The meaning of this fiction is trying to out-mean the inefficient words used to make its meaning. In the bedroom, my clock is stuck in the past and fails at its one task. In the kitchen, my coffee maker has a mind of its own, self-correcting and infuriatingly on time. This causes some friction. I require assistance. I have deficiencies. A palsy in the left ocular nerve, they say. I see two objects when sleepy, two different words that look the same but are in different languages. One is a fork, one is a spoon. Knives don't live here anymore, and I'm tired, so very tired. I'm squinting, trying to focus on what could be my daughter's damp eyelid, or is it her wet tongue? The two words look the same at this hour, eyelid, tongue. But each one tells a different story, so I should get some rest and try writing her small face once more in the sun. Meanwhile, my son is silent, his skinny throat lodged with the feathers from a philosopher's pillow. He didn't get that from me. In 3 hours' time, will he still be as bald as the egg from which he came? There's truth in this, and then there's the bullshit. I'm the author here, writing only to myself this time. I close my eyes, make them run clockwise until I fall back asleep. 12:22. Anyone who says they don't crave an audience is full of crap. That's what the guru underneath my thumbnail told me while we listened to Whitney Houston and drank a cocktail of expensive whiskey and Pabst Blue Ribbon over ice. It just works. Don't ask me why. Ask me this. With whom did you fall in love, author? Myself. Why? Because she spoke to me in sensibilities that didn't make any sense, and so were not sensibilities, but possibilities that I never thought possible. Not with my hourly wage and his mother, not with all the reasons not to try, but they remained possibilities all the same, and someday I hope to achieve them or give birth trying. Or both. So you want nothing of her, and she wants nothing from you? In a word, yes, and that means everything, at least until we drown each other in milk and fall asleep forever. 3:13. A voice haunts the way I think. Author, author, author. A voice haunts the way I think I must be, and in response I build a room. I build a room that balances on two chairs, on one chair an easel, and on the other chair my model. If these porcelain walls could talk. I build the room, and then I occupy it. I'm trying to write the dull, diced fruit of lies. Why am I trying so hard to convince my model that I can be funny? I can be funny. Fuck you. I am funny. Now hold still. Bob Dole was a pack-a-day smoker. He quit only after the smoke failed to steal him the 1996 presidential election. Bob Dole hates Trump, and I laugh when he smiles, as he says this to the media. I laugh at Bob Dole's smile. What? I can solve this. I can solve this with lies. Words lying to other words about a place that lives on the beak of a hungry chicken. It is winter. I no longer enjoy the taste of eggs, not since I gave birth. I can channel the Clintons, write a lie into a sonnet, and send it as a valentine to my mistress. I have many mistresses, a million babies left in my ovaries, getting ready to betray my self-concern. I've already run out of names to call all the baby darlings I have left, but I could try. I could call out names that I hate, as if ripping the pit out of a pair of praying hands. I could plant this pit in fertile soil, water it by spilling more blood on the surgical table. But what would that do? Instead, I'll experiment with new fidelities, that is, modes of birth control that ruin me and subsidize the patriarchy. 12:33. Last year I met Seal at a fancy 4th of July party in Malibu. He told me to kiss a rose, which I took to mean he was pro-life, and oh, come on. He so clearly expected me to binge on barbecue, then purge in the mirroring-ceilinged bathroom. He so clearly thought I should drink only the white wine. Come on, Seal. Not even you can keep your fucking mouth out of the flames. 324. She's a raging inferno. She's hormonal. Stay clear, she's fucking crazy. Fuck the patriarchy and fuck Ted Cruz. Right, so I'm working through something. I have a lot to process using someone who won't leave me alone. Woman, woman, woman. But I can be more eloquent than all this noise. 1244. As a young girl, I spent afternoon recess sitting on the curb alone and shirtless, pretending to breastfeed a baby doll, which my mother found at the Goodwill on Forest Ave. I told my mother I was going to let the baby die. I told her I hated the baby because it smelled like dust and I hate the smell of dust. And the baby did die. Dozens of small deaths because I could not make milk, because I only pretended to want to feed her. Author's note. My children smell like fresh cotton balls, brown sugar, and rancid peppercorns. I had these little nipples that perked up and tickled beneath the hard pink plastic of the baby doll's hopeful lips. Though I did not know the words with which to express it, I found the experience erotically satisfying. I never wanted the baby's lips. I wanted adult lips. One spring, I spent $120 on soft vanilla-flavored lotion from the Body Shop to make it so. This feeling did not last into adulthood. My erotics have become more concerned with location, light, and fingernails, less about lips or plastic. One night, the sex offender in the apartment next door fell asleep with a lit cigarette. The doll was abandoned and melted into our stained carpet during the ensuing fire. My mother flirted with a fireman. He was the one to save our hamsters. For 3 Christmas seasons, my brother and I coaxed these hamsters to mate, and they made dozens of little hamsters that we sold to pet stores for money that we used to buy each other's gifts. After the fire, we all smelled like dust. 335. If this is supposed to be a piece of fiction, then it is failing, and the audience is unconvinced. Every morning, a grown-up scopes a camera down the pipe of my throat. It goes down so far the eye is met with a lonely fragment of shit, and the shit says, you need to worry less and eat better, or else. The shit says, you will be safe and your life will be whole. Maybe. Author's note, I'll teach my children how to tell the truth, the good and fair truth, but I will also teach them how to lie and how to smell the lies on the hands of others. I, too, have much to learn. I say, try not to take yourself too seriously this time. Some stories can be mere scrapes on the knee, hidden by a thick plastic Band-Aid. Your mother will want to call this trauma. Sometimes a scrape is just a scrape, and it can feel good as it heals. Every person can be wonderful, and every person is capable of horrible, horrible things. If I say the word radical, how will you be? And this time, I'm the mother asking the questions. 1255. An eagle in a white lab coat smoking a cigarette cuts open a 6-inch scar that has blossomed on my stomach and says, I'm afraid, dear, it all has to come out. He takes it all, then sews me back up using an opposable talon as a needle. Don't ask me how this is done. My mother sends a rare text message. She is clothed in strength and dignity, and she laughs without fear of the future. And I say, since when do you speak in proverbs? And I say, who is she anyway? And then whisper, atheist, under my tongue like a sacrament. And then whisper, I'm pregnant, like it's April Fool's Day. It's the only prank I was ever good at. Memory is held in the body. My body contains stories that do not chime bone on bone. My stories are held in each cell, plump with joy, luck, and sacrifice. Woman, author, author, woman, sacrifice, luck, and joy. There are other things, but not for here, not here. Stuck in my teeth is the pulp of laughter, which I've sucked and gnawed on until it turns to wine, like Dimetap. As a young girl, I often pretended to be sick. I could always swallow medicine, no problem. 346. Is there anyone for whom sex is still a dirty word? Look again, review your definitions. The new dirty word is domestic. That is, domestic, adjective, the color of wrists tied to bedposts, synonym, a country song. 106. As a young woman, the boroughs in which I frequently loved were haunted by a gang who initiated members by demanding a machete murder of a woman walking home alone at night. The blade sliced my belly from exposed hip bone to bone just below the bikini line. My blood spilled bravely onto the street, tiny gobs of pearly fat stuck to taxi cab windshield wipers and kicked up the legs of several cyclists and one skateboarder. As a young mother, I became invisible. I became the sound a breast pump makes. No way, no way, no way. Or maybe it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Tisket. A noun. A secret. Synonym. Your origin story. To have tisketed. Verb. Past